Hello everybody and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
Just before we started recording, you gave Nico a job.
Yes, I've given Nico a job. It's
the most irrelevant job in the world. I was like, okay, you've asked Nico to check if how many yellow cards Checky Decore at Palace has got. And I'm thinking, for who?
So,
why does it even matter? He could have 1 yellow card, 3 yellow cards, 5 yellow cards. No one's buying him.
And that's not the point, though, is it? If Palace are missing Check Decore, it possibly makes Everton assets more appealing. Everton come into a really good run of fixture of 4 games. And more to the point, right? If he's on 5 yellow cards, then why have FPL got listed down as 4? He should have 1 less FPL point. Listen, you might lose FPL to the 1 point that Check Decore has got in a game that he shouldn't have got. I've just had a message from a patron who's just said to me, yeah, the missing game is he got booked at Newcastle in game week 6, and there's no yellow card listed down for that game. So, FPL Towers, you owe Check Decore in game week 6 -1. That's going to affect 0.1% of players.
It's good. If you lose FPL because someone who you're up against had Check Decore, then that's a shit mini league.
So we think we have the answer anyway. We think Check Decore, yes, irrelevant for FPL, is suspended this week. FPL doesn't have him flagged because FPL have him down for 4 yellow cards, is my point. I like to know these things, Suj. Anyway, how's your game week, mate?
53 points. -4, so 49. Pretty decent.
Yeah, that's all right, that.
Considering it's a green arrow, like 50k, 40k places or something. Not really overly looking at it, but I think this midweek was a case of survive for a lot of people and get through. Started okay. I had points from Zaha and Dunk on the first night on Tuesday, followed by double clean sheet for Pope and Trippier on the Wednesday. Mo Salah. Do you count that clean sheet as a return? Yes, we do. And Mitrovic. That was all I had, to be honest with you. Of course, Danny Ward, 9 points on the bench. But,
So the plot thickens. Check Decore was booked in the 96th minute at Newcastle.
Was he booked after the game had finished, maybe, for...
No, it says foul. Foul. That was what he was booked for, was a foul. Sort it out, FPL. Who knows? There might be other instances of that. We moan about this sort of shit in Sky, don't we?
Anyway, yeah. Yep. So 53 points, not bad.
I'm just longing out that mine wasn't particularly good. 42 -4 for myself, which I guess would have been nearer your score if Jared Bowen didn't take the penalty like a pass back.
It wasn't a good penalty.
What was Jurgen Klopp said? It was a great penalty. Great penalty for you because it made your goal easy for your goalkeeper.
I mean,
it
wasn't. I've seen worse penalties. Don't get me wrong, but it was the right height and the right distance and stuff. Like keeper goes the opposite direction and cooks it in the bottom corner.
Any penalty that goes in, you can say great penalty, right? It was perfect height for a goalkeeper. Didn't hit it that hard.
No. And I didn't think he was going to score either, but we'll talk about that.
Schumacher on pens now.
Wow. Anyone.
Just while we're
working. I think they're going in number order, mate. They started at number 1. Now they're down to number 20. It's whoever's next on shirt order number.
Not many returns to myself. So double Newcastle clean sheet of Kieran Trippier and Nick Pope. Goal for Wilfried Zaha on Tuesday night. Goal for Alexander Mitrovic last night. Bought Salah in and captained him. And I bought Wilfried Zaha in. The moves that I'd suggested I probably would do on Monday for a -4. And I've already made a move going into this game week, Suj. Made it last night.
Did Foden go up last night?
Yeah, he did, mate. You know where I'm going with that, don't you?
Yeah, you bought Foden. Because I looked at it this morning and I was like, I didn't expect him to go up. Like, he was 8.3. I thought he might drop to 8.2 before the deadline for people coming off him. He didn't. So I sold him at 8.2. I'm going to have to buy him back at 8.4 now, but I'm still going to do it.
Is that what you're doing as well?
Yeah, highly likely. Everybody that listens to this pod, friends of the pod, patrons that all support Brighton, This is not a promise, but I'm probably going to sell Leandro Trossard for Phil Foden. So
Let's get an hat-trick tomorrow.
Exhale, breathe a sigh of relief. Your football club will be back on track tomorrow. James, they're playing Man City.
I think Leandro Trossard's got
I know he scored a hat-trick at Anfield, but they're playing Man City.
He's got about 11 goals since you sold him in April, I think, roughly.
Yeah.
And you've actually got him back in for 3 games and he hasn't scored in any of these. No. So, yeah, Leandro Trossard, careful if you sell. No, you should.
Alternative is selling Zaha. And I think between now and the World Cup, Zaha has better fixtures.
I sold Wilf. Look, returned the other night, ended up in more central areas in the second half, which is something I was screaming about on Monday. We keep sucking. Love him on the touchline when he's one-on-one with people, but when he's faced the block, you can't expect any returns out of him. He was able to drift into areas and obviously get on the end of something in the central area for his goal at the weekend. Not convinced that will happen against Everton. Yes, the fixture good. One of the reasons I went in for him was, look, if I walk into other problems and I'm stuck with him, then yeah, he can stay. I wasn't overly impressed the other night, despite rave reviews on Amazon about a man of match performance. I actually thought Decore was probably man of match actually for his performance in the second half.
I'll tell you, he wasn't man of the match.
But I couldn't be selling Martinelli. I couldn't be selling Bowen. I couldn't be selling Salah. I didn't have enough to go from Andreas to Foden. The choice was Foden or Saka first. Decided Foden again. Similarly, it's like because Saka's got Chelsea away in 3 games' time. It's like if I get in a position where I can't get to Foden, how do I feel? If I can't get to Saka next week at home to Nottingham Forest, how do I feel? I may well still take a -4, Suj. Possibly for Saka, but I think only if I've got an injury in that area. And I have looked at a -8 as well, which would be Andreas to Saka and Solanke to Cameron Archer. Exact money. But don't think it's worth it. It's essentially me taking 8 points to get Saka in my team. It's not logical. No. But if I had an injury somewhere else, then I may consider that sort of thing. Solanke to Schumacher actually is the other one I'm kind of thinking about as a -4
Callum Wilson
maybe.
To Schumacher as a -4, but I'm not going to do it for a -4.
No, I think similar. So I'm probably set unless I've got any injury news. At the moment, I intend to start Doherty. Is he going to play against Newcastle? Listen, the way my team played on Wednesday night, I wouldn't guarantee that anyone's going to play other than Hugo Lloris, Kane and Son. The rest might all be on the chopping block after that performance. And those 2 up front didn't play well either, but they have to play by default. So not a clue, but I've got it. And I think it's the same if you've got Perisic, just go again. Whatever will be, will be.
Who would you play out of... so Gahey is away at Everton.
Yeah.
But then you've got Andreas Pereira, for example, is away at Leeds. Now, Leeds give up opportunities.
The 2.
But Everton aren't scoring or even showing signs of scoring particularly either. So I think it's quite a close one. Where do you go with the upside or the defensive?
It's another reason probably not to take a hit at their first sub and second sub for me.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't have decent coverage. At the moment, I have Gahey Buster's first sub.
Right.
But that Decore absence, which I've only just found about, we were about to record, might change the order of that.
Right.
Possibly. That's a blow for them.
No doubt about it.
So you said Decore wouldn't have any relevance, so he does.
Yeah, not really. I think Palace will still beat Everton at the weekend.
I don't think they will anyway, even if Decore had been available.
Okay.
I think Everton are right defensively. I think Palace are still giving up opportunities.
Yeah,
but I think that's likely to possibly be worse this weekend.
Well, let's see. Shall we run through the games as we do each and every week? Deadline's tomorrow. Don't forget Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool is 12:30 UK time, which means 11 o'clock deadline. You streaming in the morning, sir?
I will be, yep.
James will be doing the old deadline stream. Come and watch him brutalise people that ask repeat questions. Let's do it.
We won't be having a guest appearance from Suj this week because it'll be in my spare bedroom.
Not a lot of goals midweek, really, but it started off with Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. I watched from about minute 20, 25 of this, apart from the 15-minute detour to go and see that idiot drummer at Crystal Palace during half-time. You were saying Decore is man of the match. That drummer was not man of the match. So annoying, the drum at Selhurst Park.
You ain't even got onto that game yet, and that's the second time you told me that this week.
They're proper annoyed with it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Brighton 0, Forest 0. I mean, they had all the chances, but again, you're talking about overplaying it. It really, I don't know if they were overplaying it, but they
Henderson
were just
made a couple of decent saves in the first half. Trossard hit the bar. I don't know. Different day they score and no one says nothing. I just think.
I think Danny Welbeck. I mean, we've talked about he's got praise for his movement and stuff, but he's not. He's not going to get them into Europe.
He's less effective in games like this, right? When you're playing against a team who's putting up a screen. Welbeck is great when you're playing, like exactly when they played at United opening day, where he's got space to run into channels and bring other people into play. Great. He's actually more effective in the more difficult games for him. That I get. So in a game like this, could they use someone who's more of an out-and-out goal scorer? Yeah, sure, but McAllister, Gross, Trossard have all been chipping in this season. I don't think it's a huge problem. No. I saw a lot of, Brighton, this, that, and the other. I played all right. But it got to a point with about 20 minutes to go. I thought, you're not going to score.
Yeah.
But I just think on a different day, they would have.
It is. It's like a game, our game, Liverpool managed to get the goal in the first half, like 20 minutes in or whatever. Say, if Brighton had gotten a goal, it changes the complex of the game so much. Like Forest have to push out a little bit more. Brighton can get in. It shows the importance of that first goal, because I think if Brighton had managed to get that in the first 20 minutes or half an hour, they would have coasted through.
If I'd have said to you pre-game, Brighton have 70% of the ball, 19 shots to 3 and 7 shots to 0 on target, like every Brighton fan would go, yeah, that'll be enough.
That'll be 1-1.
Yeah, that'll be 1-1. They moved back to a back three as well, which included obviously Trossard moving to wing back. But I wouldn't describe Trossard and Solly March as wing backs in this game. I'll just describe them as wingers, and Brighton played 3 centre backs. So that could change again. I think, look, De Zerbi's still in. He's trying to find his formula. He played a back 4 at Brentford. He's moved back to a back 3 here. And I think this really was back 3. Could change again. Obviously, Adam Lallana started. I thought he played okay. It was fine. De Zerbi seemed very impressed with his performance. It could easily be that a few people have his Stupinant. He could come back in the team. He ain't starting him at Man City this week anyway, I presume. Unless you've got a death wish, because it could easily be minus points. I doubt it. But interestingly, I did COTC yesterday with Johnny Pringle and Sam Murray previewing the City Brighton game at the weekend. And they were both of the thought process that City would get more than I did, actually. Included Sam. But both think Brighton will score, interestingly. They don't have a great record up there for scoring. They always get beat up there. It's 4.53 XG in Brighton's last 3 games. Goals scored, none. Now, for those who like their statistics and the fact that it will return to a normality, Brighton goals will come. I had no concerns about them. But I think this week has given us, these last 3 games have given us messages to think that perhaps my thought process going into the Tottenham game, that they could push for top 6. These results and Newcastle's form at the same time suggest that probably top 6 is going to be a bit ambitious, but I'm still convinced they'll finish top half.
Oh, yeah. I'm in agreement in top half, but I think, yeah, it would more likely be outside of that.
Good point for Forest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, they dug in deep. Nico Williams playing on the left.
And probably stay there because Toffolo came on as sub, but picked up a hamstring injury. There's still doubts about Lodi. We don't have Forest team news for this weekend as yet. Not that I've seen anywhere at this stage. So it could be that Williams stays at left back. I'm not sure what the alternative is if Lodi's not available. So I've got Richards, who they bought from Bayern Munich as well, still not available yet. So it could well be that it's Williams on the left. But again, presumably people aren't starting him this weekend against Liverpool. Maybe people have got him and their Stupinant. But there will be people, I mean, I saw plenty of teams, admittedly, that had like Duncan, Nico Williams as an example in their team this week. And obviously have got clean sheets for both. 0-0 was the ideal for you. I mean, what do you pick first? Do you go Dunk at City or Williams against Liverpool?
I'd do Dunk at City.
Would you?
Yeah.
You'd have to go Williams against Liverpool, wouldn't you?
Nah. I think Liverpool got goals in them.
Yeah, but if I said to you now, right, one of City and Brighton or one of Forest Liverpool's finishing 0-0, which would you think?
City Brighton.
Really?
City drew with Villa 1-1 earlier in the season.
I know City didn't score at Anfield last week, but I don't foresee them not scoring in any home game.
Yeah.
Haven't they got at least 4 in every home game so far? I can't see
Liverpool not scoring, though.
Well, no, neither can I, but I think I'd probably play
Dunk
Williams.
Takes the odd set piece. I think so does Williams. I get it. It's a tight call. I'd play Dunk, to be honest with you.
Someone will be in that position. I'd go Williams.
Okay. Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 1. Adama Traore, customary once-a-year goal or does something and chips in. But Palace claw their way back into the game. My timeline when Wilf Zaha scored was Zaha, fire emoji. Zaha, yay. Zaha, fire emoji. It felt like everybody was waiting for those points.
Had you seen the timeline for the previous 70 minutes or so?
Selling Zaha,
can't wait to shoot him out of a cannon and all this kind of stuff. Don't care that he's
going to score. I'm still going to sell him. All this kind of stuff. Yeah, but look, Palace will be happy with clawing back a victory. Wolves will probably be happy that they scored a goal.
Wow. Wolves first, because there was news yesterday about Steve Davis. He's going to, and this is interesting, I have read the statement on Wolves' website as well. He's going to remain in charge until 2023, at least. Yeah. Now you're thinking, but there's a couple of games after the World Cup, isn't there?
Yeah.
So have they got someone who's managing at the World Cup? That's what it makes me think.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get that.
And someone wants a little kind of couple of week break before they take the job.
Yeah, 1st of January in the transfer window, start spending money. Yeah, okay.
It's an odd one that they haven't said, he's going to do it until the World Cup and we'll reassess.
Gareth Southgate.
They have come out and said
Can you imagine?
Clearly that he's going to do this period and he will do fixtures into the new year.
Okay.
So that's in
their
their statement.
That's a fair point because I read that as just up to the World Cup and they'll figure it out.
No, that's what it says in the statement. It actually says and fixtures into the new year. So he's going to be in charge for a while, which, until I'd seen that, I was going to say to people, don't buy Hugo Bueno. I mean, what a great name that is, Hugo Bueno, whose cross for Traore's goal was an absolute beauty, as good of a cross as you'll see all season, actually. He's 3.9. And there might be someone sitting there now with like something like Williams, Emerson and Dunk and like, oh my God, have I got to play one of these three this week? You'd probably rather play this kid at home to Leicester, wouldn't you? Yep. Aït-Nouri was on the bench. Sorry, no, Aït-Nouri was unavailable. Johnny was on the bench. So they picked him over Johnny. Maybe Davis just really likes him. He'd brought him on as a sub in the game before against Forest. His performance suggests to me that he could possibly stay in the team. He's 3.9. I would have advised against him, but the fact that Davis is definitely going to do these fixtures and you only have to think about it for 4 games, I think though for those on Wildcard now it becomes a serious consideration actually, just from absolute nowhere. He's a 20-year-old Spaniard, clearly as you'd seen from the cross, very good technically and stuff. I didn't see anything in the game that made me think he was getting burnt up defensively, and he had a very challenging opponent in Michael Elise during the game. Okay, yes, he gets pulled inside for the goal, but I wouldn't put him majorly at fault for that. So, yeah, one very much to keep an eye on from Wolves. Hugo Bueno, 3.9. For Palace, Elise created 5 chances in the game, but I feel like we've got enough information now that if you were going in and perhaps you want an enabler to fund your Foden or Saka, I think it's Eze over Elise now. And much of that comes on assurance of starts. So it's an away game this weekend at Everton. He could go back to Jordan Ayew again, couldn't he? He does that a lot. Anything he deems a more difficult fixture, he tends to put Ayew in. And if Doucouré is suspended, which we now believe that he is, then I think Ayew will probably start at Everton. So it would be Eze over Elise. Wilf Zaha is perfectly fine, obviously, to keep. But I'd mentioned on Monday's podcast about look at his heat map at Leicester last week. Do the same. Look at the heat map against Wolves and you'll see the difference. So he's coming more inside, getting more involved, getting to penalty area touches. Obviously scores the goal in a key central area. So you can keep. The fixtures are good. That's part why I went and bought him. But I do think if you're sitting there and you're wondering about it and he's the obvious move to Foden or Saka, I would do it.
Okay. But I'm not taking a hit to do it.
No, I don't think so. Like, would I be surprised if Wilfried Zaha returned to Everton at the weekend? No, of course not. He's got Southampton at home next week. Doesn't feel like it makes sense. But I think for a free transfer, when you look at Phil Foden's numbers in home games this season, and you know he's got 3 in the next 4, you just think that ceiling could be much higher. I'm sure Zaha will do perfectly fine in the next 4 games. I just feel like I had to get there with Foden. And much of my decision process yesterday was just, is it going to be Foden or Saka? And I made the call that if I couldn't get to 1, I was better off without Saka than Foden, personally. That's what I decided. Palace's second halves. I've spoken about this before. It's weird. So all 3 of their wins now have been come from behind victories. Next time they're at home and they're on the telly, I want to watch the game. I just turn it on at half time if I want to watch Palace.
Yeah.
If Neves scores with a free kick that hits the post, basically the last kick of the first half, I think they get beat. Teams are going to have to realise that if they go sell as partner, get in the ascendancy, get the second goal, and you finish the game. For whatever reason, they come on so much stronger in second halves, where they just seem to pack you in. They seem to get players higher. They seem to play through teams so much better. So there was a lot again on the game on Tuesday where Anderson's going quite direct. We spoke about on the Sky podcast, didn't we? The numbers again between Gay and Anderson, massive in terms of passing numbers. Gay's so much higher. But it just managed to pass through the lines so much better. And you look at the goal, even Eze's ball into Edouard, running, pulling the defender out of position, Zaha picking up the space. Zaha needs space. Doesn't really matter who's playing against. He needs space. Otherwise, he's not going to get returns. I'm not sure that he'll have that at Everton. So he's gone.
Okay. Bournemouth 0, Southampton 1. I don't think either of us predicted Southampton to win, but not only have they kept a clean sheet.
No, I think
I
subconsciously.
think it's their first clean sheet in 16, 17 games.
I don't think I'd predicted Bournemouth to win all season, so I thought better. Sorry, Cherries fans.
But they didn't. Che Adams with the goal, Praet with the assist to follow on from his goal against West Ham. So 19 points in 2 games.
Yeah, I've seen minimal amounts of this, so I'll just skim over very quickly. What I have seen, it looks like Bournemouth started with a back 3 with Ryan Fredericks at left wing back, Tavernier at right wing back. It looks like, so if you look at touch maps in the game, you might find Bournemouth particularly confusing from Wednesday night. It looks like they aborted that quite early after they went behind, changed it back to a back 4. Fredericks went to right back. Smith went from right-sided centre-back to left-back. Tavernier went and played higher. Tavernier wasn't on all the set pieces. Lewis Cook was on some of them. It looks like it was a very even game. Southampton had the advantage of scoring early. First clean sheet of the season, so we've finally got some Bruno returns. Which is good for them as well, considering obviously Bella Koch opts out at the moment. It's obviously a miss for them. Cole Walker-Peters picked up an injury in the game, which would be a blow, obviously, if he's absent for the game against Arsenal. Think about Martinelli on Sunday. Hassan Hüttel's hopeful it's only cramp. Walker-Peters is a good one-on-one defender. Honestly, he's very good one-on-one. Walker-Peters' problem is his aerial stuff. One-on-one is a very good defender, so I'd keep an eye out for that news. Would make Martinelli, and I know many of you listening will have him anyway, but it makes Martinelli far more appealing if Walker-Peters is out.
Okay.
That's all I've got on the game. Other than in the team news stream I did on Tuesday, unbelievably, I managed to predict the Southampton 11 correctly. Can't believe it. It's got to be probably a first time ever. Maitland-Niles obviously can't play at the weekend as it's against his parent club.
Right. Bournemouth obviously now going into a slightly tougher run with West Ham away and then Tottenham at home. So it's easy to come off and you're avoiding buying new anyway in terms of Bournemouth now.
Well, a few will obviously have Solanke like I do, and there's might be a few who's gone like Neto and stuff. It's West Ham away and Tottenham at home, and I don't think they're fixtures to shit yourself about. As in, oh my God, it's not Man City and Liverpool. It's not, I've got to sell now. So I think my plan with Solanke currently is probably to hold actually, with the fixtures that are left. So I'm thinking probably start him this weekend. Next weekend, Fulham have got Everton at home. And that's more one where I think, I do want to play Pereira in that one. Bearing in mind it's at the Cottage. They're the 5th highest scorers in the league, Fulham.
Yeah.
Whereas actually I think Leeds will respond, I think, on Sunday and give Fulham a proper game. Doesn't mean he can't return, but I'd rather play Solanke at West Ham, I think, rather than Pereira away to Leeds. The following week, Solanke against Tottenham, Pereira at home to Everton. That feels a little bit clearer, I think, despite what I saw from my team on Wednesday night. And then afterwards, I think he's got maybe Leeds away himself and then Everton at home. And I think I possibly can hold through that, maybe. But he's definitely sacrificial. I said to you earlier, I'm thinking about the -4 to Chamaka maybe even, and going down that route. But I think he might end up staying for me. So I actually like the Mitrovic to Chamaka move in 15 when Mitrovic goes to Man City.
Right.
So, depends on your circumstance. But yes, Bournemouth are obviously coming to a couple of more difficult fixtures, let's say.
Brentford 0, Chelsea 0, West London derby ends up a scoreless draw. When you see both goalkeepers are in the bonus points, 5 saves each with clean sheets, you know that they've both had decent games. I mean, David Raya this week, I'll be honest with you, has been a Sky Fantasy Football hero of mine, but returned 10 points, I think, for a lot of people in FPL as well. So decent returns if you had anything defensively. Other than that, meh.
Yeah, they did change to back three again, Brentford. We're never sure one way or the other of what they're going to do. Played Mads Roslev at right wing back this time. Martin Jorgensen, Zanka from Cool Runnings, came into the team. And Tony did have chances despite the fact they played Praet back. And he had several of them, and on different days certainly would have returned. I think Tony is obviously a very, very good asset and will be popular for wildcarders. I wonder if some people are being put off because when they're looking at, say, fixture difficulty ratings for the next 4, Brighton don't come out too high. But if you look at the next 3, they will.
Right.
So they obviously finished with Man City away in game week 16. Yeah, but then what's stopping you from going Tony to Schumacher in 16, for example, if that's what you want to do? Or even Mitrovic at home to Manchester United. I'm sure there's other one-week alternatives you can look at there. Villa away, which I don't know, is that a difficult fixture or not now? We'll discuss. Wolves at home's okay, isn't it? And Forest away. I don't see them as high-scoring Brentford games, though. That's all I would say. But is Tony at his price a very reasonable get for, obviously, owners? Owners aren't selling, that's a certainty. And I think he'll be very popular for, there'll be a large number of, I think the last number of wildcarders are probably going now. Other than that, and obviously the goalkeeper, I think is similar. It's that, do you want to look at David Raya against Man City on the final day, for example? I personally would prefer Pickford at the same price for these 4 fixtures for wildcarders. Just I think Everton have got the better overall, but that's exactly what I'm saying, isn't it? Is Brentford's 3 immediately better than Everton's 3? But possibly is. Everton have got Palace, Fulham, Leicester. Brentford have got Villa, Wolves, Forest. Brentford's 3 is better, isn't it?
Just.
Particularly for Raya as well.
Yeah.
What'll happen at Man City? Yeah, he might concede 4. He might make 12 saves, though. So, yeah, Raya Pickford, I think, is probably quite close. And obviously Kepa, at the other end, will be getting plenty of consideration. My bone with that is, and Kepa is now up to 4.3 goals prevented from his starts this season. He's doing extremely well, but it is telling me that not everything's right with Chelsea. Now, they never look right when Thiago Silva doesn't play, and he didn't play this fixture because of his workload. I'm sure he'll be back in for Manchester United. But Reece James is, although he's obviously a huge miss offensively, I mean, he's a huge miss defensively as well. And suddenly, I look at that defence at the moment, and I'm not sure how strong it is. Yeah. And I think, by the way, I think Manchester United might win at Stamford Bridge tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you're very...
there is bias in what I've just seen, yeah, absolutely.
And I agree, if you get the same Man United that played against you a couple of days ago, or they will, but that's a real big if.
Of course, listen, Chelsea can beat Man United. I've just got a hunch that United might go there and win. And yes, there probably is bias based on what I saw on Wednesday night. Chelsea's 4 fixtures: United at home, Brighton away, Arsenal at home, Newcastle away. So as much as oh my God, Kepa's amazing value. Yeah, of course he is. And if you're on, great, you're on. Is he a better choice on wildcard than Raya or Pickford?
No.
I don't think he is either with those fixtures. Just not being that sure on them at the moment. They've obviously got absentees that are the problem. And obviously in front, Kante's out for 4 months now. Now that doesn't matter for FPL, but he's going to miss all this period. And they're just never quite the same team without him. They're obviously evolving, to a different style of play that's going to phase out N'Golo Kante anyway, where I don't think he'll play much for Chelsea again. I imagine he'll go at the end of the season. So they're in a transition stage in terms of style. Because I think so much of what Tuchel did was centred around N'Golo Kante. And why wouldn't you, right? How many times we sat in when you feel like playing against 12 men against them, right? They need to change and tailor the way they're playing. And I think they might suffer a little bit over this period coming up. I think we sat here a couple of weeks ago when they had the Villa and Brentford fixtures coming up and went, it'd probably only be Reece James before the injury. now, I think if you're wildcarding today, Suj, what Chelsea did you go with?
None. Maybe Kepa, maybe, but none. Kepa, I'd only go with. Like, I can see myself coming out of the World Cup with Kepa potentially.
Absolutely. I mean,
but not before. But the only reason I'd go on now on wildcard is if you think he's going to go up a lot in value between now and the World Cup. But I don't think he will.
If you look at their fixtures after the World Cup, if he's obviously still first choice, they've got Bournemouth at home, Palace at home, Fulham at home, Southampton at home, Leeds at home, Everton at home, Aston Villa at home. That's all their fixtures up to basically the FA Cup quarterfinals. There's Manchester City at home in there as well. They have Liverpool away, Tottenham away. Chelsea have a brilliant run of fixtures overall as a long period, and you don't want to fuck about with your goalkeeper, right?
Nope.
So Kepa afterwards, yeah, great. Wouldn't be my first choice now. Those who've obviously got, brilliant. You'll be so chuffed. Crack on, obviously.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go him on wild card. I don't think I'd go Chelsea at all. They played a back three.
Mason Mount, maybe if you want. He's pretty cheap. 7.4 or 5 or whatever it is.
Would you pick Mount over Foden?
No, not Foden or Saka.
Or Bowen?
The thing with West
Ham...
Ham...
Look at them 3 home games you've got, mate.
Is the fixtures. You're playing the fixtures, which is Bournemouth, Palace, Leeds at home. Leicester at home. That's what you're going in on Scamacca's or Bowen's for. And he didn't play badly against Liverpool necessarily, but you are really banking on home fixtures. And Bowen scores all his goals at home, as you keep reminding us. So yeah,
I've just sold Zaha. I'd have Zaha over Mount for this period. Listen, and I know there's a few people concerned about his minutes because he came off early. I didn't think he'd start this game because they've got such a workload, and that's why he came off early. There's zero doubt about him starting against Manchester United tomorrow, so don't be concerned about that. I say 0. There's always a 1 with Potter, but I'd be really, really surprised if he didn't start against United. Thiago Silva coming in will obviously make him stronger as well. They played a back 3. They played Azpilicueta and Chilwell. No, Chilwell didn't start, did he? No. Who did they play at left wing back? Yes, Cucurella played left wing back.
Chalobah.
That feels quite defensive as
Azpilicueta
wing backs, doesn't it? And they played a diamond in front of that. And then they played basically Havertz behind Armando Broja. So this lineup will change massively for the team against Manchester United. The interesting one might be, and I know people love him and want him when he's about in the team, but again, workload issues where you can never be sure from game to game whether he's going to start. Perhaps in these more difficult fixtures, he will. He's Ben Chilwell. Because if Azpilicueta is going to have to play right wing back, you can bet, what did we have with Potter and Brighton and Trossard, is lopsidedness, where Chilwell may end up in very high positions over these 4 fixtures from left wing back. And I don't mind him as differential punt. Would I get him if I was on wildcard? No, same thing.
Liverpool 1, West Ham United 0.
Darwin
Nunez getting people quite excited, James, off the back of scoring a goal. But look, Liverpool started with Firmino and Darwin. We were working so Jota picks up the injury at the end of the game against City. Luis Diaz is out. What is Klopp going to do? And he ends up with starting with Salah and Darwin and Firmino as the front 3. So I think Darwin will continue to start games.
He went fairly well against you though, didn't he?
Yeah, but I think that was just because he'd been coming back from, I don't know, fitness, maybe match fitness from his suspension. He wasn't carrying anything or wasn't particularly playing bad. But I think, look, if you're talking about Palace starting games badly, like West Ham is in that same bracket, we play them at home in 2 weeks. That's going to be the dullest first half, I think, known to man, Palace versus West Ham, because we are trash in the first half. It was first 35 minutes, I would say, more than the first half. Just so passive. And I think there's a real confidence issue where we just let... I was thinking coming up to half time, like Liverpool won't have had an easier game. They're knocking the ball around, playing it down the channels, nice neat triangles, but zero pressure being put on them and zero pressure on the ball. And where Liverpool been hurt is being counted on.
Yes.
None of that was happening. Nothing at all.
The Scamacca chance near the end.
Yeah.
They end up with a 3-on-3 because they've pushed too many men forward and you play through them quickly. The sort of thing that City didn't invite at the weekend, which frustrated me as a neutral.
But yeah, I mean, Liverpool played well. They were neat and tidy, but there was so little pressure being put on them in that first half an hour that it was quite comfortable. Darwin took his goal well. he had another effort where he chested it and then hit it.
I've seen the efforts. I mean, he could have had that trick in the first half.
He was solid, really lively, and likes to get his shots off. That's why I think he's getting a lot of attention. I think it was Trophy FPL. We put a tweet out showing like where he is in terms of shots had and all that kind of stuff. He's up there, Darwin. So he is a goal-focused striker, unlike a Firmino who will drop in or what have you. So yeah, Liverpool decent, but West Ham did, I think, in the end, do enough to maybe... If it had been a draw, I think Liverpool fans would have been like, fine, it's a draw. Also, we've lost, and I think, fine, they probably maybe edged it. It wasn't as close run as that. We obviously missed the penalty, which...
You had the higher XG.
Yeah, but with penalties...
I know that.
But there were other chances.
Souček's chance was massive on
big.
XG,
Skamaka had one that Alisson saved. As the game went on, we got more and more into it, and it was finally like, actually, you know what? We need to win this game. Like, we can't win this game by being passive. Moyes made attacking substitutions, brought Benrahma on the left, who played well, brought Antonio on. It was like we went on to try and win the game, and we were like, you know what? There was a realisation maybe 30, 35 minutes in that Liverpool are good, but they can be got at, but we need to make an effort to go at them, and did. And I think we should have come away with something, but also we need to liven up the first.
I've only seen Match of the Day highlights, because obviously I was at Old Trafford. And from the highlights, it looked like Liverpool were fairly comfortable winners. But when I dive into the stats and I see that West Ham had 5 big chances.
More of the ball in the second half. We penned them in.
So where were these big chances? Where were they on Match of the Day? I ain't seen them.
Well, you need to write a letter to Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker and whoever else is joining them on the sofa, James. But yeah, we were decent in the second half and took the game to them. Declan Rice was given man of the match. He did really well, had a great game. But I think we need to sort this confidence issue out. But Liverpool looked okay. Mo Salah ended up playing through the middle once
Nunez went
had come off.
This is key.
And he had a one-on-one against Fabianski. Fabianski did well to make himself look big. But Salah he had a few shots, did Salah. Like, he was lively enough that he could have easily picked up a goal in the game. No issue with Salah or coming off Salah.
No, I think there is an issue with Salah. I wouldn't have bought him. I'd genuinely gambled against it if I thought Nunez and Firmino were both going to play. I'd spoke a lot in the build-up about, I think Nunez and Salah together essentially isn't going to work. They both want similar things over the top and in behind and stuff. Firmino links the team. We know this. We've known this for a long time. So if Nunez is going to play, I think at the moment it's with Firmino, with obviously Jota's injured now as well. Therefore, Salah has to play wide. And this isn't wide in the front three now. This is wide in a 4-2-3-1 or wide in, as Klopp is calling it, wide in a 4-4-2. You've got 2 people ahead of him. And this was actually, even when they were playing 4-3-3 at the start of the season, you remember there was a lot of talk about Nunez nicking all of Salah's XG and stuff, right? So if that's how they're going to line up regularly, then I'd want Nunez rather than Salah. My problem with Nunez would be, because of Salah, I don't know how much he's going to play. I'm confused by it, is the honest answer. I just think it's not likely, with the injury status that they've got, and I'm not saying we won't see it. A fixture like tomorrow at Nottingham Forest, we probably could. But I still think, even still, you look at Forest at Brighton on Tuesday, like Liverpool are going to have to be creative in terms of how they open them up, right? So is Salah and Nunez with no link player and no real creativity in the 4 behind, in terms of, let's say, unlocking a door, does that work? Actually, as good as they are, Liverpool might struggle with that. So I still think they need Firmino, particularly in these tighter games. And that makes me think, that, again, because the injury status now, that probably, Nunez probably does play the majority, and I'm going to have to say majority of games through the middle, and I don't think that's great for Mo Salah. I can't be selling Salah before this fixture.
Forest, they could easily, if they go 1 or 2 up early, like what happened with Bournemouth, it could be a deck of cards. So
listen, Liverpool,
I think Salah's fine.
Got what, 5.5 hour at Ibrox a couple of weeks ago. Listen, we know the capabilities there. So no, I can't sell. If I was on Wildcard, though, I wouldn't go Salah.
Really?
No.
I've had a few people ask me about West Ham assets for Wildcard and whether or not, and also like thinking Salah, does it make it unaffordable to have Bowen and Skamaka and play? I don't know. I I probably wouldn't go Salah as well, but I went specifically with Salah because I wanted to captain him this week, and I think the Forest fixtures is decent enough.
Are you going to captain him this week?
No. I captain him against West Ham. This week I captain Haaland. I'm not going to go against it, but the Forest fixture's decent. There are plenty
who will captain Mo Salah against Forest. And I'm sure there'll be model predictions that will suggest that Salah against Forest is better than Haaland against Brighton. I'm sure there'll be people who think if Salah's going to play through the middle, he's a better choice than Haaland. Let me tell you honestly, if Mo Salah plays on the right, it's not that he can't return from there, but he's definitely not a better captain choice than Haaland if he plays in that position. That's even in spite of the fact, Nottingham Forest, someone's going to say it, don't have a left back. Because at least Williams knows him, and actually, Williams is a right footer playing against him. Salah struggled against this a little bit, and actually, very interestingly, thinking back, and I don't know if Cooper would consider doing this, but one of the last really good Tottenham performances under Pochettino, certainly in terms of Premier League, was probably Liverpool's last really, really bad performance, was when Tottenham beat Liverpool 4-1 at Wembley back in the 17-18 season. And Tottenham played a back five that day, played a 5-3-2. Actually, Son and Kane played together up front. He played Ali, Eriksson, and I think it was either Dembele or Harry Winks, can't remember. But I know that he played a flat five at the back, and Serge Aurier played left back and played Mo Salah quite well. Salah did score Liverpool's goal in that game, but Aurier has played against Salah before on that side. So I think there's a couple of things, if you are considering Salah over Haaland captain, I wouldn't.
Okay.
On West Ham, Suj, Paqueta injury.
Yeah, shoulder, which he came off against Southampton. He was when he came off against Southampton.
Oh, so you think he went into the game with the injury?
He didn't start. He wasn't even in the squad.
Oh, of course he wasn't. Sorry. Sorry.
So he came off. We could see him on the bench moaning about his collarbone strash. It's more like a collarbone shoulder or something. But it's going to be a few weeks. I don't think he's going to be back on Monday.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think
he's out for a few weeks.
I think you'd be lucky to see him again before Unlimited, mate. I think. What do you think the solution is to that for you? Is that just Ben Rama?
I want to see Ben Rama get minutes now. Ben Rama on the left, Bowen on the right, Scamacca in the middle, play Lanzini or Fornals as in the hole if you need. Yeah, plenty of options. Flynn Downs, by the way, started the game.
He's starting to right in midfield.
Yeah. Well, we played a three, right? Souček, Rice and Downs. And yeah, he had an all right game. He grew into the game. Look, making your Premier League debut at Anfield, it's never easy. It's going to be a tough game, you know it. But he did all right.
It looked like, of the bits I've seen, it looked like a flat four. And Fornals played left and Downs played right with Rice, Souček essentially.
Yeah, and Bowen a bit further up top.
Yeah, playing more central,
fluid, in terms of formation. Yeah, but yeah, nice to see him get a start. And if you're going to throw him into a game at Anfield, it shows you a little bit of trust. So good. Newcastle 1, Everton 0. Go on. Just
one final thing. You had 54% second half of possession.
Yes.
Now, I know we talk about counter-attacking football a lot, and I think Liverpool are trying to work situations for Nunez and Salah at the moment. I think that says more to me about Liverpool
they sat in a bit.
And an evolving style potentially than what it tells me about West Ham, because even trailing in that game, I would not expect you to have that volume of possession.
They sat in quite a bit, and this is the problem we talked about. They have issues with people countering on them. We couldn't counter on them because they sat in quite well.
They're going deeper.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised with clean sheets. One Liverpool player I think I would have if I was on Wildcard now is Virgil van Dijk.
Okay,
with Robertson and Trent, you've seen Tsimikas played this game. They've still got a little bit of work to do in the Champions League. I would obviously expect Robertson and Trent to play the majority. They probably both start 3 of the next 4, would be my guess. Van Dijk starts 4. And I think over small periods, think about towards the end of the season where, say, Matip outscored Trent and Robertson, didn't he? I'm pretty sure Van Dijk must have been very close as well. If you're wildcarding now, it's 4 games, it's small sample. So I think, do you want the player that's going to play 4 games or do you want the player that's going to play 3 games? I think there's possibly a lesson in this for towards the end of the season if we have doubles and teams are still in the Champions League like Liverpool. Because despite the fact Liverpool were going for the title, their rotation was mad at the end of the season, where even Salah missed was it Newcastle away, he didn't start or something. So Van Dijk won't be rotated. Joe Gomez is getting a bit of talk as well because he's cheap. He might have even gone up to 4.6 and they was 4.5. And I guess the fact they've kept a couple of clean sheets in a row now.
And he played well as well.
Yeah, I'm sure Klopp will be pretty loath to change that. That said, you'll certainly see rotation there with the European games as well. Konate is close. I don't think Matip's far away either. So if you're happy to know that it might be good for you for a couple of weeks and might change, by all means, go for him. Van Dijk's the one because of this small period that I'd go for.
Okay. Newcastle 1, Everton 0. Everton fans really frustrated with this lack of XG and lack of goal opportunities, although they started right against you, but the second half against you wasn't good. And even though Calvert-Lewin started this game,
I don't think they had a shot in the second half of this either. I don't think.
It's going to be frustrating when you don't have any opportunities. I saw you had a good conversation pre-game with Simon Bibby, our Newcastle United correspondent, about Almiron and Bruno and what have you. Almiron pops up on the score sheet again. Good finish.
He's got more FPL points than Mo Salah now.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to stop joking about him, don't we? Not only is he scoring goals, he's scoring great goals as well, to be fair. Another terrific finish here. He's obviously on form. Great budget option. I think what actually discounts about him is there are so many midfielders like the Sakas, Fodens, Bowens, Zahas, etc. Even obviously Maddison's back available this weekend if you held on, that you'd still rather have than him, I think. And I think there's also Pereira's price that means Almiron's probably in most cases not your fifth midfielder. He's probably your fourth. And our team's looking at setting up with 4-3-3 at the moment. Or are you looking at going with Almiron? Listen, if you go with Almiron, it certainly opens up the idea of looking at things like Haaland, Salah, Kane, for example, if that's the sort of thing that you want to do. So listen, he's doing absolutely great. Gimenez, I'd love as a footballer. Have you seen the one where he scuffs it wide and he plays 3-1-2s?
No.
Oh, my. Goal of the season, done. It would have been even better than the odds-on Edouard overhead kick at Selhurst Park the other night. I love him, Gimenez. I don't want to see him play against my team. Do you know what I think every time I watch him? To be honest, I just think I wish he played for me. He's got everything in his locker, absolutely everything. Super footballer. And it should be said to Newcastle's credit as well, they've got injury issues at the moment, particularly in the forward department. And the likes of Almiron and Jacob Murphy, who's another one who I think he's playing regularly. He's like 4.5, and we're never speaking about him because he's not a better asset than Pereira, and you've got Almiron for not that much more as well. And there's a little bit more rotation concern with Murphy with the likes of Ryan Fraser, whereas Almiron has been playing so well, there isn't at the moment. But Ed Wilson missing for a bit. They've now got Isak missing. St. Maximin's been missing for a while, and actually they're dealing with it really well. Best defensive record in the league. And to kind of highlight how well Eddie Howe's done, remember they were, second bottom when he took over or so? Walked into a pile of shit, basically, didn't he? They've got 62 points from his 38 Premier League games now. That would have been enough to finish 6th last season. They've one defeat in their last 13 in the Premier League. Newcastle can push to 6, definitely.
Well, they're in 6th right now, mate.
In fact, they're playing my team this weekend. Let me go so far as to say they're going to do it. They're going to push the top 4. They're going to do all of that. I think they'll probably be a little bit off, but they're going in a direction that we expect them to go in. And actually, it's happening a little bit quicker than maybe we thought it would as well.
Yeah, got some good players there. Everton looking over their shoulders, only 1 point off the drop zone.
Yeah, DCL being back's a plus. I think it had to get to a stage where you start going, we've got to get some fitness in him. Because these next 4 fixtures are good for Everton. It's part why we had Sean on COTC on Tuesday, and he's going to come back on the week after next as well, because I think they've got the best last 2 before the World Cup as well. So Everton assets, if you're wildcard, and I think Gordon is reasonable, but I probably couldn't find a reason to pick him over Almiron at the moment with his form. Calvert-Lewin, I don't think you can go. It's just too much for gamble with fitness. Pickford in goal I've spoken about, really good. I think obviously you've got the likes of Cody at the back. Tarkovsky's cheaper, who can be looked at. Patterson's not ready yet, unfortunately, which I think would have been really popular for wildcards because those other 4.0s don't look so great at the moment. Williams, obviously Emerson's not played for yourselves. Suj, it might be that Hugo Bueno is the one for wildcarders if they want an enabler there. It's a big period for them, and I think they know it. and I think they'll be right up for that game against Palace on Sunday. I'm not saying they'll win it, but with Doucouré absent, I think they'll give Palace some problems. Everton won't be defined this season. I know that they've had no shots on target in the last 2 games when they've been losing to Everton and Tottenham. But Tottenham and Newcastle. But Everton's results in those sort of fixtures are not going to define what happens to their year. It's these upcoming 4 games are more important.
Manchester United 2, Spurs 0. These are the. I mean, I know you had a few beers and so you enjoyed yourself.
How long have you got?
This is where you wonder, like, why did I bother with the train and the hotels and all of that shit to watch this?
It's part of it, which is another reason why when you do go away from home and you win,
you're allowed to celebrate.
You enjoy it so much because you also suffer these days as well. I mean, it was a combination. Who should want me to talk about first, United or Tottenham? There's a lot I could get through here.
I mean, the thing is, it's like you have a bad game. I think people can make too much of it. Sometimes you just have a bad day at the office. Sometimes.
Oh, we had. I think that was, and I'm not going to rant about it because I think there's a combination of why it happened. One, I think that was probably our worst performance under Conte, actually. And I go back to some really, really bad ones. I think there was some in January where there was a little bit more mitigating circumstances because of injuries and stuff like that. And there is now as well, because particularly Kulusevski is obviously a massive, massive miss. But that team should be able to do better than what it did on Wednesday night. That said, it was United's best performance under Ten Hag, which I was pleased. You're not quite sure in the ground if you're seeing bias, but then see all United fans, the large majority anyway, saying afterwards, yeah, this was United's most complete performance as well. You've got the 2 things happen. United play at their peak, Tottenham play completely under par.
You can lose.
You get the inevitability that happens in the middle,
Yeah. But then you don't panic and shit the bed as Spurs fans, and you don't get too excited as United fans.
I think, look, other than Hugo Lloris, every single outfield player was under par. Every single one. Eric Dyer had his worst game in a really long time. You know, I speak so highly of how he's played for the last 12 months. Rashford gave him fucking nightmares.
Yeah.
Romero, I spoke about on Monday, saying everybody's raving about him, and I don't think people are watching games. He's a massive problem for Tottenham at the moment. He has these moments. The first time I ever saw him, I spoke to you about him and David Luiz. No, I'm not talking about Valface, the real David Luiz. So he's gonna have days, Suj, where he's gonna be 9 out of 10 a lot, and he's gonna have these 4 out of 10 car crashes. I'm not sure I'd give him 4 out of 10 for his performance on Saturday. Not just off the ball, on Wednesday. Sorry, not just off the ball. The way we set up, we have to play through lines quickly to expose people on the opposite. He's so long and ponderous on the ball at the moment. I don't know what's going on. He's taking too long. Everything he does. People criticise Sanchez for his distribution. Honestly, would not be bothered on what I've seen at the moment if Sanchez came in the team for Romero to give him a wake-up call and a kick up the arse because he needs it. I was surprised that Ben Davis was picked over Longley. Ben always gives it his all, but had a bad night. Perisic, I was very surprised that he picked because of exactly what I saw from Anthony. Anthony's one of those players I can confirm, having now seen him live, is much better than I thought he was.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a very, very good footballer. Very clever. So I was surprised that Perisic played, but I understood it in the sense that if you're going to go with the 3 in midfield, which we'd been calling for, then you play with your 2 most adventurous wing-backs if you were in Perisic and Doherty. Doherty, I thought, was probably our best outfield player, and I probably wouldn't have scored him at any higher than about 6 out of 10. So don't misunderstand that as all Doherty was amazing, because he wasn't. Perisic, unfortunately, he's not the player that I've been so delighted to watch for the last 6-7 years or so. He doesn't have that final explosiveness in pace anymore, which I think if you're going to be a wing back in an Antonio Conte system is a real big problem, because you've got to have athleticism. And he works hard. There's no question on any of that. He's working really hard. He's got the smoothest lollipop in the league in terms of his step overs. His crossing is absolutely brilliant. Is he still a decent FPL asset? Yes, when he plays. But I think the right direction for Tottenham at the moment would be to play Ryan Sessegnon. It just gives Tottenham a far more dynamic off-the-ball weapon. The midfield 3, I've been speaking positive about Højbjerg and Bentancur all year. not all year, all season. The two of them both had a real bad off night. You know, when I say about Conte, about sometimes I can see the plan, even if I don't agree with what I'm necessarily seeing. But there was a plan here as well. So it wasn't a flat midfield three, and it wasn't just Bissouma sitting off deeper. Bentancur played a lot higher than the other three. There was a design to suck out Manchester United players, get Højbjerg moving into a double pivot alongside Bissouma, and get Bentancur into half spaces to the right-hand side to link with Doherty. It just didn't work, but that was the plan. Son and Kane had a really bad day up front. Kane started okay, and he was dropping into space. In fact, to be honest, in the first 10 minutes we played okay. We had one really lovely move we put together when Bentancur had an effort he put wide quite early in the game. Thought, this is all right. And then it tailed off. I'll explain part why that happened. Bissouma was disastrous. What was that one of the questions we got on Monday? Why is he not playing more? And what did I say? Don't judge on him.
Hasn't been very good.
Yeah, exactly that. And he was not good. Was not good. I'd bring that straight out the team on what I saw. And I love him as a footballer. But he just passed him by completely. He did this weird thing, Conte, again, I didn't agree with this either. But when United had goal kicks, he was pushing Bissouma right onto Casemiro, so almost playing like the 10, and having Højbjerg and Bentancur drop off deeper. And I had some sympathy in the sense that then if they broke through the first line of press from goal kicks, he was already having to work so hard to get back into position. It didn't make sense. The other problem is, where I've been very critical on Højbjerg, and he's improved a lot, his distribution is not the best. He's not the most press resistant. Bentancur is the best distributor of those three players over range of distances, is what I would say. And I would have liked him to have been the deeper on reflection. But I can certainly understand the way Conte picked the team the way he did. I would have picked it the same, to be honest. In the first 10 minutes, as I said, we played quite well. What changed is Manchester United pushed their fullbacks a lot higher, and he just boxed us in. So I can understand the strategy from United was let's have a see, let's see what Tottenham are doing. Okay, this is what we're doing. Right, we'll push the fullbacks higher. Shaw and Dalot ended up like wingers, which really boxed us in, and teams can end up doing this to Tottenham because we retreat very quickly into a flat five. We can get boxed in. It also meant because of that obviously Anthony and Sancho could come into half spaces, link with Fernandes. You had Fred coming really high, and suddenly, as much as I've criticised those midfield three, they're absolutely swamped by numbers, and you've got Casemiro protecting that behind as well. It was outstanding. I know Fred was very good. Bruno Fernandes created 9 chances.
Yeah, decent return for him.
He also had 6 shots, 5 crosses. The 9 chances created by Fernandes is the most since he created 10 chances himself against Aston Villa in the Premier League. I think it was the game they lost when he missed the penalty, actually, last September or so. It's the most since he did it himself by any player in a Premier League game. Hugely impressive. On our Sky podcast, I often talk about anomalies about certain numbers against Tottenham. This might be another one. This doesn't mean all steam into Bruno Fernandes ahead of Chelsea away. No, there's
United
people watching Brady. He was extremely good.
Avoid this week because it's Chelsea away.
Yes.
But their last 3, West Ham at home, Villa, Fulham. Villa managerless, Fulham away. Like, okay, they're decent, but I don't mind people that want to punt on a Rashford or something.
Their off the ball pressing wasn't chaos. They are very well coached. We spoke about this when he got the job. That would be very well coached. At the moment, they have the buy-in. We've seen this before with United in the sense that they played for Solskjaer and stuff, and then they let him down. They played for Mourinho, and they let him down. At the moment, they're right behind him. And I think what's really positive is the reaction from the Manchester City game, where obviously they got battered, and then you have questions like, they've had this run, but actually played a good team, got destroyed. They've now beat Liverpool at home, Arsenal at home, Tottenham at home. They certainly deserve to beat my team. They certainly deserve to beat Liverpool back in game week 3. It was a bit more chaotic, I felt, the pressing against Liverpool. I promise you, every single bit of pressing they did in that game against us was by design. There was so much structure in terms of what they were doing. I might have to do a piece on it on Talking Tactics. I was so impressed with United. Suj. As much as we were bad, that's why I don't want to go on a mega rant, because I just think we played a team that actually, people might not want to admit this, we've got superior footballers, played much better than us. We got out-coached. Conte has to take responsibility for the result as well. United were very good. Varane and Martinez at centre-back, outstanding as well. Can't believe how many times Martinez beat Kane in the air. Okay. A lot. Very good. They were great throughout United.
We should talk about the big man as well, CR7, but let's do that when we get to the Twitter questions because it's got fuck all to do with football.
Do you know what? He doesn't deserve to be spoken about.
Okay, agreed.
No, we can speak about him at the end, it's fine. I don't think he deserves to be spoken about with the way that team played because they were excellent. Yeah,
so that's what I mean. Like the conversation about him is not about football, it's about behaviour and all
I
that
couldn't believe that the headline when I got back to the hotel was about Ronaldo.
Well, it was because he left the game early, causing a scene, right? So anyway, Fulham 3, Aston Villa 0. Mitrovic gets on the score sheet, so saving a few FPL teams this week and Sky Fantasy Football as well.
It would have been better if Tyrone Mings, who later scored an own goal, would have got out of the way from Andreas Pereira's corner, which Mitrovic had cleared off the lines. Because a number of us obviously had the two-player double.
Is Gerrard gone, right?
Yeah, he sacked. Sacked within an hour of full time, mate. That must have been an awkward coach journey home.
Wow. Look, Fulham 3-0. Fifth highest scorer in the league, did you say?
I do think they could have waited till he got back to Birmingham. I don't think what difference would it have made? It did feel like a bit like wait till you get back to Birmingham, even put the statement out at midnight, whatever, 1 o'clock in the morning. Put it out 8 o'clock this morning, whatever you wanted. I think that was brutally harsh. It was interesting looking on my timeline last night. It seemed to be mass celebration from Villa fans. I told you they were gone with him. You could clearly and audibly hear on the TV last night. It had gone from you're getting sacked in the morning to Steven Gerrard, get out of our club, and you ain't coming back from that, mate. So yeah, I just would like to have been a fly on the wall on that coach journey. Or it probably might have flown. Who knows? Going back to Birmingham, I think they'd got themselves into a position where they probably had to change 18 defeats in his 38. And they started quite well. So when you put it all together, it's bad. I did a few stats on Monday. I'm not going to go over it again. It doesn't particularly matter because obviously he's gone. I don't think, by the way, that Bill will be getting the job. He's obviously turned down the Wolves job. He took over QPR and was Gerrard's former assistant. I watched an interview this morning with Bill on QPR's official channel explaining why he turned down the Wolves job. I don't think he could just walk into the Villa job after saying that.
No,
it's interesting. We've got Villa, Wolves, Bournemouth. Almost forget, right? Bournemouth haven't got a manager. Wolves have obviously said they're going to wait. The Villa wait. I feel like Villa will feel they can get. Wolves only feel like they can get managers who have got a relationship with Mendes. Villa, I think, feel that they can get a higher
caliber.
They can go for a Pochettino.
I could see a Poch turning up at Villa, for example. So,
I think if they go for him, he'll take it.
Agreed.
And I think they've got really, really good young players. People that perhaps people might not have heard of, like Irogbonham, who's a holding midfield player, who I think went out on loan somewhere, but played for England's kids in the summer with Chukwuemeka, who's obviously gone to Chelsea. But you've got Cameron Archer there as well. They have got good kids, a really good group of kids. And Poch, as we know, is very good at getting the best and developing younger players. So I think he'd be a super appointment for Villa.
They've got Brentford, Newcastle, United, Brighton, the last 4 before the World Cup. They could lose all of those. They
could, yeah. They've got a tough run of fixtures. And actually, if you look at the first 2 is after the World Cup as well.
No, I didn't.
Liverpool at home and Tottenham away.
Lovely.
So they are in the shit.
Yeah.
But who knows? They may bounce off this. One of the frustrations for Villa fans, obviously, Villa should not be in this position. Got enough good footballers. And the transfer business has been strange. I'll repeat what I said in this. Bednarek on loan. What are you doing? Then Donker. Okay, great. He's probably going to play now because Luis has got a 3-game ban. His players ain't good enough. Short-term fixes. Coutinho is just not worked out to the extent that Gerrard didn't even bring him off the bench last night. He's arguably just been standing in Buendia's way. I do like what he's done in the last couple of games, actually, with Ollie Watkins wide. But when you get yourself into a position where even he in his interview after the game last night said, wanted a reaction after the weekend, and they did play well for an hour against Chelsea. But then for him to be in a position where you're away to Fulham and you're sitting there and admitting you should have been finished by half-time, and you're thankful for your goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper didn't get the one that was cleared off the line either, that they should have been well beat by half-time. Then, of course, yes, the red card, the penalty is extremely harsh. It's not a penalty, that, in my opinion. It's too close range. But yeah, it was inevitable the way the fans had changed that he was going to go. Luca Dean's probably about a week away still as well. I didn't understand her not picking Matty Cash last night. Yes, he's probably managing his workload. I wondered though, and we spoke about this before, if it was part selection playing Concert at right back so that Mitrovic didn't pull onto Cash on that side. And again, if we'll see more of that, teams picking a kind of a flatter and a taller back four to deal with Mitrovic because he is so powerful in the air. Okay.
Fulham have got two decent, so Pereira owned and Mitrovic owners hold on. Once you get to that City game, maybe you can think about coming off for the final run.
Yeah, as I said, I'm potentially looking at maybe Mitrovic to Schumacher in
15.
Because as much as the other thing with the -4, like I mentioned, say Solanke to Schumacher, I don't really want to look at Schumacher and Bowen away to Manchester United next week.
Right.
And that's what... But could I play, interestingly, and this is part why I'm still thinking it, could I bench them both and play Gay at home to Southampton and Pereira at home to Everton? There's going to be one hell of a strong subs bench next week, as it stands.
Get that bench boost out.
Well, admittedly, I would probably start Pereira over Solanke, as I said, and then if I've got a problem with Doherty, Gay's super cover, so I have to factor that sort of thing in as well. Good from Fulham. As I said, 5th highest scorers in the league. Really impressive, and it must be said, as Dara the Tinkerman said on Twitter last night, I thought William was really good. The one really bad result they had was obviously Newcastle, and Paulinho wasn't available. I think that's important
6
as well.
6 tackles yesterday. I only know that because of
Sky.
Another game, but it's a lot. 6 is a lot, so he does patrol that area really well. Finally, Leicester 2, Leeds 0. Didn't see this one come in. I mean, Leicester are all right at home. They do score goals, but clean sheet.
Do you know?
2 in a row.
You know what you've never seen before? You've never seen a Praet assist a Koch.
Boom, boom.
Do you not like that?
No. I'm sure there's a meme in that, like some tumbleweed or... Yeah.
Yes, Dennis Pratt's cross. And he actually played really well standing in for James Maddison. Played the position a lot higher and wider than what I'd imagined. Yes, his cross was inadvertently turned into his own net by the hapless Robin Koch. Some of Leeds' selection last night was strange. Cooper obviously didn't start. And I think Andy Martin spoke to us about this before, the fact that his leadership skills is obviously quite important to Leeds. Llorente played. He had a difficult night. Firpo, I can't get over him. He's so poor. Strack's obviously got injured in the week. And Firpo's played at left back. And he's harsh because it's kind of first game for ages. He's just... He gives them real troubles. I wouldn't fancy them for a clean sheet in any game of football that he ever played, I don't think. So, yes, Pereira, Mitrovic owners, by all means, for the weekend, because I don't think Strack will be back. Harrison was benched. Some of this could be managing workload, but I don't know. It seems a little bit strange.
Leicester
There's a
away
4-day
is a
gap
game that you would target to get 3 points in, really.
Well, I think so, yeah. Now, listen, they'll be thinking the same Fulham at home at the weekend. But I think deal with the immediate problem. The immediate problem for Leeds isn't what's above them, it's what's behind them. Because there's several Leeds fans a little bit concerned now. What I'd say is, and again, this is one where you can turn the narrative either way. Do you look at them and go, we haven't won since that brilliant performance against Chelsea? That's nearly 2 months ago now. Do you judge it like that? Or do you look at them and go, well, actually, in the last performance, there's no way they should have lost to Arsenal. So you glass half full, glass half empty. I think Leeds have got enough intensity about them that they'll win a few games that people don't expect, where teams don't turn up and give Leeds 100% respect. They'll have problems. So I think they'll be all right, to be honest. Scoring goals does appear a bit of a problem, but Bamford is still working up the fitness. It's not going to make things any worse for them. They had a few decent moments in the first half. Second half was very flat. To be honest, the game was almost a non-event once Leicester had gone 2-0 up. Leicester's second goal was superb. It was a brilliant team goal that led to Harvey Barnes' goal. Yeah, it was a bit of a non-event, the rest. Big win for Leicester, very importantly. And they'll obviously be helped by Maddison being back for the weekend. I'm sure he will come back in the team if you still weren't for the trip to Wolves. Still no goal for Jamie Vardy despite starting. And those who've gone down the Daka route, this is not going to go away. I wouldn't go near it. It's still just Maddison for me. I think wildcarders, Danny Ward would probably still go in as one. I'm probably going to start him this week, I think.
Okay.
Got Wolves.
Over Pope.
Yeah, it's not a Pope's playing Tottenham. It's a Ward's playing Wolves.
Okay.
That's what I think. They've kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4. Now, admittedly, all of them at the King Power. But I could see Wolves-Leicester being 0-0 at the weekend, for example.
I look forward to that prediction on the Diff show later for the patrons.
That is the prediction you're going to get.
Nice.
I think Castagne is also a potential one for wildcarders as well. You want a rotation option with that, but can be considered. I think Leeds players are probably a no for wildcarders. I don't see where I'd... Harrison, Sinistera, decent. Would I pay for it at the moment? No.
13th to 19th in the table was separated by 3 points.
Yeah.
West Ham, Southampton, Everton, Leeds, Villa, Wolves, Leicester. All have been in and around the Premier League for a little while, generally. And you think
how many points are you with Bournemouth? Are they above you?
Bournemouth are above us.
Yeah.
2 points.
I was going to say, is that on goal difference? It can't be.
2 points. Palace, 2 points. Brentford, 3 points above us. Fulham and Brighton, 4 points above us. It's very tight, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, listen, teams like... I know
it's just interesting to see all teams that are established in the Premier League and that you wouldn't think would go down and making up 13th down to 19th right now.
Teams like Fulham and Brentford will have bad runs during this season. So, Bournemouth are above you. I wouldn't put a line anywhere and say these are safe and these are not. No, it's exactly what you're saying. It's too close at the moment, I think. You wouldn't if you can get 7 points in 3 games, you're out of it, aren't you?
Massively, yeah.
I mean, what were Leeds after 3 games? 3rd, 4th, something like that. So, yeah, if you can get 2 wins and a draw, 3 games in a row, the sort of run like Everton have got, like if Everton can do well over this 4-game period they've got and get 7, 8 points, then it's going to carry them out of it and they're going to feel a lot easier about the rest of the season.
Yeah. This is a Friday, James. You don't have a lot to tell the listeners about in terms of what they've got to look forward to, but there is a deadline stream, as we mentioned, tomorrow. 10 a.m. be kicking off.
It will be, yeah.
UK time, that is, obviously. For Patreons, you will get a differential show later on today, which is just the kind of warm-up before the weekend where we make our predictions and announce what's happening. There's a team news stream for the advanced patrons after the presses, James, 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that?
4, probably.
So a rundown of any news that we get from the managers as well. You can find out more about that by just heading over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. Why not come and join us?
Before we do questions, there were 2 teams who didn't play this week, and
yes,
they're the 2 teams that people want to discuss the most.
City and Arsenal.
Let's do it like this. If you're on Wildcard, which 6 do you go?
Foden, Saka, Martinelli.
Would you not find this easy to do one team at a time?
Jesus. Well, Saka, Martinelli. I'd like Saka, Martinelli, Jesus. Foden, Cancelo, Haaland. Those are the 6 that I would go with.
Cancelo,
I like Saliba, but he's on 4 yellows, so I'd avoid that. And KDB, but there's too much money. Then
so you'd go 5 attacking players.
Yes.
From the 2.
Yes.
I wouldn't. I would go Haaland up front. I think at the moment I'd go Saka, Foden, Martinelli. Cancelo standard for me. I'd go Ben White.
Price.
Yeah, his price is 4.5. He's started every game this season. He's playing right back. So when we've looked at him in the past, we've thought, he's 6-pointer, he's flat. But you might get the odd return. If you actually see Arsenal's goal last night against PSV, and they should have won far more comfortably than they did. It comes from a Tomiyasu who's played right back. Obviously, White's had a rest. Pulled to the edge of the box, Xhaka scores. So, and he does make this overlapping run sometimes to open, most of the time it's to open space for Saka, but sometimes he will get it. So there is a small chance of assist potential and attacking returns with Ben White as well. So it's more interesting than it has been in the past, and he's the cheapest. So I think, and also he's at that price level where you can look at it and go, I'll play him this week. I'll definitely play him against Forest. You can bench him at Chelsea in 15 if you want to. And you can play it that way. Whereas when you go to higher, you might you might put yourself in a position with a Saliba or Gabriel where you kind of feel compelled to even
like
play them at
Saliba's
Chelsea
just
away.
Avoid because of this bloody 4 yellow cards thing as well.
The thing is, though, it's probably dependent on what you go with. So if you went with, I'm just going to throw 2 names out, but if you went with, say, Gay and Cody as like 4th and 5th defender and you were intending to play 3 at the back, then you're more inclined to take a gamble with someone like Saliba because you know you've got cover behind that's got good fixtures. That's why I mentioned those 2 players. Probably from a price perspective, it's too much. Whereas if you went for Bruno and Nico Williams as your 4th and 5th, you don't want to go Saliba, right? Because you're going to put yourself in a position where suddenly you might have to be playing Nico Williams in a tough fixture, for example. So I would go Ben White if I was on Wildcard now. I see no reason, if you're on Wildcard now, why you would not go for 6 players from those 2 teams. Even if you had the intention to say, I don't know, say you were going to go Saka for Southampton away and Forest at home, and then move him to Bowen for West Ham's fixtures at home to Palace and Leicester as an example. I don't know why if you wildcard now you wouldn't get 6 players from the 2 teams that have got arguably the next best couple of fixtures. City have got probably the best 4, them and Everton. Arsenal got 2 brilliant fixtures coming up. I don't see why you wouldn't go with 6, even if you're planning a transfer to move an Arsenal player.
Okay. So the Cristiano Ronaldo plot thickens in that when I was watching the end of your game, they talked about the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo left. And it was
I didn't even notice.
Started
in the
out,
no idea.
yeah, of course. It started out that he's just gone down the tunnel before the end of kickoff. It then emerges he's gone down the tunnel and left the stadium before the game's ended. And then it emerges that he was asked to come on and refused to come on. That's what the Daily Mail started reporting.
I don't know if that's true, is it?
Well, the Daily Mail were reporting that he was asked to come on and refused.
You believe everything you read in the Daily Mail?
No, but I think it's a big enough allegation that you would want some sort of evidence behind it or a source. But the fact that then United have come out and said that he's not even going to be in the squad for a Chelsea game, and that's that, means that a meeting has been had, right, with the board and Ten Hag.
I don't think a meeting should have been had. I think it should have been Ten Hag going, this is what I'm doing now.
Well, I think basically that's probably what's happening. The board are fine, okay, whatever. So now, but that's bad form. I don't give a shit if you're the greatest player of the world. I mean, a lot of people are backing Ronaldo and saying he's being disrespected. He's the greatest player ever, and they should.
Stop this nonsense, please.
It's a team game.
No, honestly, you can't act like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've spoken about this before. There's kids in that team who will worship him and, will follow every move he makes. And he's even come out himself afterwards and said, I shouldn't have done that, etc. He knows it. Although he didn't say sorry, I noticed.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Of course he does. Of course he does. And to take the reflection off of how good Manchester United were on Wednesday, he's so disrespectful to his teammates and the way he played, and also, obviously, more importantly, his manager as well. United fans didn't deserve to get home or go to the pub afterwards and see headlines about Ronaldo rather than see headlines about how good their team were on Wednesday.
Correct.
Nonsense.
The commentary, they had Alan Shearer on Amazon doing the co-coms, and it was probably 80 minutes or something, and Bruno had a great game, and he did drop the line in, like, Bruno's like really come in. Is there any coincidence that Bruno is showing leadership and having a game like that when Ronaldo's not around? Like, what's the correlation between Bruno playing well and Ronaldo being sidelined? It's very clear. Ten Hag don't fancy Ronaldo. He doesn't want him in the club,
there is a
let alone in the squad.
All of United's players played well. It was the best I'd seen Jadon Sancho for ages as well. Perhaps that helped the fact that he could come into more central zones. I'm not sure. But the work rate in front of him, I cannot see how anybody could look at Manchester United's performance on Wednesday night and tell me that they think Manchester United would be better off having Cristiano Ronaldo in the team. And that's not to downplay. I feel like we have to say this every time. Yeah, he's one of the greatest players of all time. Should he be in Manchester United's best 11 now? No. No way. When I got to the stage, there was 2 things I was really disappointed about. One was that he wasn't in the team. Honestly, I was hoping he was going to play, because I knew what the in-behind threat was of Rashford. And 2, I was actually disappointed that Christian Eriksen wasn't in the United team, because I know he has moments of lapses of concentration on turnovers, and I felt it was something we could exploit. And Fred played. That's not to say Eriksen's not a better player than Fred. He he arguably is. But Fred was very good for the way United
all
played.
Over you.
Yeah, for the way
I watched. I wasn't watching. I was watching our game,
worked.
but I caught the end of yours. And after I was finished, there was the overlap on time, and he was harrying. He lost the ball at one point. He just ran back and won it back. They were hunting in pairs. I was like, wow. They were just really good. Intensity.
United would be better off, in my opinion, saying thanks very much to Ronaldo and seeing what they can discuss with a contract situation.
Exactly that. I think that's what's going to happen now. Clearly what's going to happen now. If he's been left out of the squad, that's what the road they want to go down. It's Aubameyang, Arsenal Mark II, all happening all over again. Manager don't want him, and as soon as he's gone, you might see an uptick in United.
He came on at Everton. Martial got injured. So you've got Martial out of this situation. Martial's going to come back and he's going to be ahead of Ronaldo as well. He came on for Martial at Everton, Ronaldo, and he played well. And I spoke on the Monday after that and said, look, Everton's a very suitable opponent for him and stuff. But he played well. He was involved. He scored a good goal. He's obviously had to start against Newcastle and he's got taken off with 15 minutes to go. Now, I get it from his perspective. He's thinking, well, I need a goal. What are you taking me off for? And you could look at the chance Rashford missed at the end against Newcastle and think Ronaldo scores that. And he probably does. But maybe certain things would have happened in the phase of play where Ronaldo might not have been involved in that position in the first place. I don't know. I can understand the frustration of being substituted. No player ever wants to be substituted in most cases. But he had worked himself into a position where he was back involved with the team, I think. Where even Ten Hag had trusted him at Everton and he played well. There was like an olive branch where you might be finding a ground here where he can be good for United and United can be good for him, and understand and just respect that he's still a phenomenon considering how old he is. Like, no one else is getting near his level at his age. Let's remember that. But is he part of United's best team now? No. And it would just be better to part the way. I just find that so incredibly selfish and disrespectful to his teammates and his manager, particularly when they've played so well. What did you actually want? Because United don't play that way if Ronaldo plays.
Correct. A few questions that we've had in on Twitter we'll cover off. Many that we have. And more than that, I just feel some are a little bit, dare I say, boring. Up your game, listeners. Come on.
You said this on Monday.
Yeah, they're just kind of...
Do you think I ask questions and then don't listen? So they don't know.
I don't know.
And those who do listen have given up trying.
Probably. Gary Mantle says, aside from Haaland, who are you most worried about swinging against for the final 4 game weeks? Saka for me for the first couple. KDB could go mental at any point is definitely a concern. I don't know if I'll get back to Jesus as well.
Yeah, it's them two. Saka and Jesus would be the two, yeah.
We have a question in from Javo. Which player is the Liz Truss of the Premier League and why? Comes in, does a massive turn and leaves within 45 days.
I think they're Nuno at Spurs, to be honest.
He was probably there for longer.
I'm sure he was. She was Prime Minister for less amount of time than Bournemouth have been looking for a manager. Bournemouth have been without a manager longer. Was manager
of England longer than Truss was manager? But he didn't. It was only one game.
2 or 3 months, but it was just one.
But
game,
it was a little bit longer. He was in and out just as quick with fucking England as Truss was potentially.
It's got to be Watford, isn't it? I suppose, even though they're not in the Prem anymore.
Rich Jarvis wants a 1 hour long special with Lee Jackson James discussing the abysmal game and the situation at Villa. I mean, it's the end of the week. Lee has jumped in the conversation. He says happy to do it, but an hour's not long enough to say everything he wants to say.
I will add to that and say an hour is not needed. Podcast with Lee on what's happening at Villa Tuesday.
Oh, lovely jubbly. No people's poll then?
No.
Okie dokie. Gibbo. Now that Spurs have been in the new stadium for a while, as a fan, are you happy it went ahead, or would you still rather be at the old White Hart Lane? You can't want to be at the old White Hart Lane. You can have nostalgic love for it, but you can't want to move back. Evolution and progress.
I never would have left that place, Suj. Never would have left. I've said many times, I think Tottenham have done as well as they possibly could have done with the build of a new stadium that does now feel like home. There are things that can be improved in terms of the atmosphere and stuff, but it's still new to. I hear Arsenal fans saying like now that they feel like the Emirates is beginning to feel like home for the first time because of how the atmosphere is building, the identity they see with their team and stuff. So I think that would still take some time for us. I think it was easier for us to settle in because we spent nearly 2 years away as well. Would I go back? Yeah, I probably would, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I probably would. I have to say, I was still very impressed with Old Trafford on Wednesday. I know there's a lot of comments on that.
I heard your
there were certain things like getting a beer as murder was a waste of time. There was only like one place selling beer. It's probably a bit narrow in terms of concourses. I also think I'm slightly blessed and ignorant because of what I experience at Tottenham now that I go everywhere else and think, oh, it's a bit shit. But yeah, as you said, I did a little bit for advanced tiers yesterday. Old Trafford still very much has an aura around it. I didn't know anything about the Munich tunnel. If you ever go to Old Trafford, you have to go down now.
Okay. Last but not least, we give a shout out to FPL Crisis. 3-part question. We can answer them quite straightforward, but they get more progressively difficult as we're going along. FPL Crisis. So, has someone coughed up the 25 grand yet for Suj to release Trossard? No. But you know what? Seagull and Az and Joe and Brad and all you lot, I quite like you all. None of them are like, arseholes. So I feel like I need to release Trossard just because I feel like I'm hurting friends by continuing to own him. So I'll probably sell him this week anyway. And you haven't paid me, but I will just keep it on tip.
One thing as well, right? And I'm going to look down the camera for the benefit of this as well. When Trossard scores at the Etihad tomorrow...
Don't fucking tag me.
Don't fucking tag me. I don't care. Tag him.
Don't tag me.
It's nothing to do with me.
Don't tag me. Thank me.
Tag Suj and Shah. It's nothing
say
to do.
Thank you.
It's nothing to do with Planet FPL Pod. You know what I was really waiting for as well was if Iwobi scored Wednesday night. Whoa. Good afternoon to Sean Norton, our Everton correspondent.
B. Scamacca, best forward under 8 million to target with 3 of the 4 at home, has scored in his last 2 home games. Under 8 million, I still think Mitrovic is better. I mean, he's got more form. He's got 7 goals now this year. The first 2 are good, and then you can move off like you're doing in 15 to Scamacca.
I'm not saying I am or I will. I think it's interesting. I think if we didn't have a Haaland, I think wildcarders right now would be looking at maybe going like a Salah and Son or Salah KDB, and would be looking at Scamacca, Tony, Mitrovic up front. Would be great.
Tony's still under 8 million.
Well,
and a good
Tony's
shout.
still got these 3 fixtures. Scamacca's obviously got Bournemouth at home and then 2 great home fixtures, 15, 16. The 14 fixtures are a little bit off-putting. Like I think maybe the Tony fixture in 16, but then you can take a 1-week punt for anybody then. Mitrovic still has Leeds away and Everton at home in the next 2. And I think the Mitrovic to Scamacca move in 15, which I've spoken about a few times, is definitely on radar. But it's not that Mitrovic can't be kept.
Yeah.
A little bit like Trossard will score at the Etihad tomorrow. City could beat Fulham 4-1 and Mitrovic scores. He's a player I'd never want to bench. Ever. He's on pens. He's so talismanic for them. More so than I think, with respect to Solanke at Bournemouth, who's obviously done very well for me. Like I'd feel more comfortable. I'd feel almost more comfortable benching Solanke at home to Tottenham than I would Mitrovic away to Man City.
Yep, agreed.
As I said earlier, the 5th highest scorers in the league, right? And he's scored a shitload in the Championship.
Was it the Etihad, their game against Arsenal?
Come again?
Fulham Arsenal. Was that the Etihad or Craven Koch?
It's at the Emirates, sweetheart.
Emirates, sorry. That's what I meant, Arsenal Stadium. So, look, away at Arsenal, he's scored, right? He has returned. So, he can return in these big games. I do think, Mitro is one to keep. I think we'll call it time there, James. That's a roundup. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great Friday night. Don't forget the deadline Saturday morning. Jump in on James's stream. Help us with the YouTube numbers a little bit. Like, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, one more thing about Tottenham, just quickly, which is I know with the FPL listeners are really, really been waiting for. We deserve to get beat for not turning up in fucking white. That shit really pisses me off.
We played in our 3rd kit at Liverpool as well.
That's understandable. There's a bit of a clash.
No, but claret and blue, but then our 2nd kit is dark blue. Very, very dark.
That's probably a colourblind cash a little bit, maybe.
Really?
Yeah,
so then
probably.
we were in white. We were in the third kit, which my son pointed out. He was like, we're in our third kit. And I thought, they got to sell the shirt somehow.
Zero reason for Tottenham to change their kit at Manchester United. If anyone at Tottenham is listening, there is certain places in this country we go and we don't change kit. Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham, Manchester United, Liverpool, Everton, Aston Villa. We ever go to any of these clubs, we never change kit. Done.
Stay safe.
Not having it.
Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this week. Play it your way. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man-child.